If your health is not perfect, you likely just need more nutrients. Humans are simple biological creatures. Like any other organism in nature, we need a certain amount of energy and nutrient input in order to keep us healthy and thriving. When our nutrient input dissipates, so does our life force, vitality, and metabolic health. Take something like low energy, for example. A lot of people today don't realize that they have low energy and they are addicted to coffee, not because there is some underlying issue with their body, but because they simply lack bioavailable fat in their diet. The human body needs bioavailable saturated fat in order to have proper hormones and energy levels. If you don't have enough saturated fat in your diet, you will have lower energy, you will have more inflammation, more body pain. Your testosterone levels, if you are a man, will tank, so you will have less confidence, you will have less muscle growth, you will have a less athletic looking body. All of these things are controlled by hormones, which are controlled by our fat intake. So if you can increase your fat intake, you will be supporting your hormones and you would have much higher energy. I've seen this in so many of the clients I've helped over the years. We get them on a proper protocol that includes large amounts of saturated fat, and their energy levels goes through the roof. So in this energy level example, what would you have to eat to get rid of this issue? You could eat some nice organic pasture-raised eggs. These will have large amounts of saturated fats in the egg yolks, and that will definitely boost your energy if you eat those in large amounts. You could also include things like butter and cream and other dairy products that have a lot of saturated fat. Even better if you can get raw butter and raw cream, because when dairy is in its raw state, it will be much easier to digest and absorb for your gut, which means you'll get more saturated fat to help your hormones and increase your energy levels. You could also eat meat, because meat can have a lot of saturated fat if you get the right cuts. As you can see in this picture here, you want to get stuff that has the intramuscular fat. So that is the fat that is within the muscle itself. And you can get this, for example, in a ribeye steak. You can also get it in pork if you eat that, and other meat sources as well. You could also use plant foods to get more saturated fat. You could get more coconut oil into your diet, make it extra virgin coconut oil for maximum potency. You could also get something like a clean organic dark chocolate. If it's 85% or around that, it will have a lot of cacao butter in there, and that cacao butter can also contain a good amount of saturated fat to help out your hormones. So as you can see, there are a bunch of things you could do just to fix this one single issue of having low energy. But low energy is only one of the many symptoms we're dealing with today. So let's look at some of the other examples and solutions to other common health symptoms out there today. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention for context that this video is actually part of my brand new health course and community, which includes all of my diet guides, my protocols, my videos, and much more. This health course and community is based on over a decade of health research, investigation, and experimentation, both with myself, but also with hundreds of clients that I've helped worldwide over the years. So if you want to learn more about this course and community and get access to all of the hidden videos, presentations, guides, and protocols that's in there, you can just click the link below to learn more about how you join. With that being said, let's get into some of the other symptoms and how we can treat them. So symptom number 2 is bloating and digestive problems. This is something that a lot of people have today. I would say the majority of people are running around with undiagnosed digestive problems, and that is obviously because of their gut. So gut issues is the main driver behind bloating and digestive issues. And that might seem obvious, but what is not so obvious is how you actually fix these gut issues, because a lot of people out there that I see who have bloating or who have certain digestive issues, they are listening to the mainstream advice that we are getting, and this is not going to help you. I can tell you that because I've tried that myself. I used to suffer from massive bloating and gut issues, and I was only able to heal it once I discovered some different protocols and techniques than what they recommend in mainstream circles. And I'll just give you a few things here to consider, because the topic of gut health is a long one, but the most important part is cutting out the gut disruptors. And this will be things that contain a lot of anti-nutrients. This could be particularly raw vegetables. It could also be grains, nuts, seeds, and legumes. So a lot of people today that want to be healthier, they run into these mainstream articles and research papers that tell them to eat vegetables and nuts and grains. But what they are not told is that these foods actually contain a lot of something called plant defense chemicals, which are anti-nutrients, which when they come into your gut, they are the plant's way of defending itself. So it will release a bunch of compounds, things called tannins, phytates, phytic acid, and a lot of other names for these anti-nutrients. But common to them all is that they are very gut disruptive and they will give you large amounts of bloating. So what you need to do is either cut those foods completely out, stop eating raw kale, for example, or other cruciferous vegetables. Don't eat it raw. Try to cut out a lot of the vegetables from your diet. Stick to more non-toxic vegetables. That could be things like tomatoes, carrots, and I'll have a list under this video inside the course where you can get a full list of all the vegetables that is included, that you can still eat, things like tomatoes, cucumber, carrots, and there are a bunch more. And all the ones you want to avoid as much as possible, that will be things like kale, specifically spinach, and other foods like that. So take a look at that list if you want an overview. But basically your best bet is just cutting out all of those high anti-nutrient vegetables and also cutting out the majority of the grains that you're eating, particularly nuts and seeds and beans and stuff like that. And you can do certain things like processing, cooking, sprouting, fermenting the beans or the vegetables, and that will definitely lower the anti-nutrient content, but still it can give you issues if you eat them in large quantities. So if you're eating a lot of vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and so on, dial it down a lot. Try to cook them if you are eating them, and try to stick to only about a handful per meal, and your gut will be much less bloated and you will have much less digestive issues. The next thing you really want to do is eliminate gluten. Gluten is a major gut disruptor today. Gluten is actually also a plant defense chemical. It is an anti-nutrient. And because modern wheat today has been hybridized and has much larger quantities of gluten, it is something that is creating a lot of bloating and digestive discomfort in a lot of people today. Even if you think you're not gluten intolerant, as they call it today, I promise you, literally every single person on this earth is gluten intolerant today because of the high amount of gluten that is in bread today. So what I recommend you do is cut out all pasta and bread from your diet, replace it with other starch options such as potatoes, white rice, sweet potatoes, or polenta. You can also make bread yourself from something like einkorn sourdough. Einkorn is an ancient wheat grain that has much less gluten than what people use nowadays. So that is a bit hard to find, but you can find it some places. And with that, you can make your own bread, and you can actually eat that without getting as much bloating and digestive discomfort. But first of all, I just recommend you cut out all bread and pasta and replace it with potatoes or white rice or some other non-toxic starch option. The next thing you can do is you can add a digestive aid to your meals. So this could be something that contains vinegar in one form or another. This comes in many different forms. You can literally just use apple cider vinegar with your meals, because apple cider vinegar in its raw, unfiltered state will contain a lot of enzymes that will help break down your food. And the less your stomach itself has to break down the food, the less gas will be produced and the less bloating you will have. So the more you can produce that enzymatic support from the apple cider vinegar, the more support will be in your gut and the less bloating basically. But you don't have to literally drink apple cider vinegar. That is a bit extreme for most people. Some people do have a need for that, but others can just include vinegar containing foods such as pickles, sauerkraut, other things that are pickled and have vinegar in there can help you digest food easier. It could even be things like a good natural organic ketchup, because ketchup also has a lot of vinegar, and that is actually why a lot of people in the modern world crave ketchup all the time. They basically need enzymatic support in their gut to be able to digest their foods. So if you just get a very good quality ketchup, or even make it yourself with a good quality vinegar sauce, you'll be adding a good digestive aid to help out your bloating and digestive symptoms. So these were just some of the things you can do in terms of gut health. Definitely study the other parts of this diet section within the health masterclass in the course and community. And then you'll be setting your gut up to be in its most efficient, powerful state. It will extract the most amount of nutrients from the food you're eating, giving you high energy. And it will also work much less on everything, creating much less bloating and just making you more firm and athletic looking as well, from having less bloating and digestive issues. So take a look at everything else and keep these very important points in mind. Also, a thing that I briefly wanted to mention here that you can consider is not to eat in a stressed state. This is actually because when we eat in a stressed state, our nervous system is tuned out of the parasympathetic side of it. and that is the side that is responsible for rest and digestion. So if you are stressed and you're eating, your body from a primal standpoint is literally fleeing something. It is trying to get away. It is not focused on digestion. So a lot of people who eat at work or eat while they're thinking about something that stresses them out will actually have a much harder time making the enzymes and probiotics needed to digest their food, because they are not in the parasympathetic rest and digest state. And that means more bloating from the food you eat, because your body is not prioritizing digestion right now. So try not to eat in a stressed state. Try to just calm and ground yourself a little bit before eating. Take some deep breaths or something. And that can also be a big factor in helping you bloat less from the food you eat. Okay, symptom number 3 is dry skin. How do we get rid of dry skin and skin issues in general? This is, again, like with energy levels, often a lack of fat, because you actually have this huge fat layer just beneath your skin, and this fat layer is what helps moisturize everything and keep it healthy looking. So if you're lacking in fat, which most people today do, it is one of the severe malnourishments that are happening in the modern world, is that we lack high quality fat. We eat way too much of the bad fats like polyunsaturated fats, seed oils from chips and fast foods, and we crave those foods because our body sort of thinks it knows it needs fat and it's trying to get that from those foods, but what we need to give it is the proper amount of saturated fat, and that is what is going to be able to help our skin issues by moisturizing the inner layer, the inner fat layer of our skin, and helping everything look clean and smooth. That is a big role fat has in our overall appearance, is helping our skin, and especially if you have dry skin on your hands and stuff like that, it is a big sign that you need more fat in your diet. So what can you do? You can include more of these 2 foods in particular. These are the ones that will give you the biggest and quickest effects. So if you include some raw, unsalted butter, is a very, very good source of fat that you can obviously put on many different meals, or you can even eat it just straight up. Eat the butter if you are a barbaric animal that likes that. Another thing you can do is get a high quality cod liver oil. And cod liver oil is obviously filled with fat, but it's also filled with the omega-3 fatty acids that we desperately need in the modern world, that can help moisturize and keep our skin healthy. Actually, fish oils in general are very, very good for overall skin health, both because of the fat component, but also especially because of the omega-3 component. So get a high quality fish oil into your routine. Again, there are a bunch of supplements out there. I've talked about this before in other videos that don't work. If you want my specific recommendations, go back to the superfood and supplement section in this course, and you'll have a list, and you can hear me talk about which supplements you can pick if you actually want to get ones that have results for your skin and all the other things that fish oil help us with, such as brain power, inflammation, and basically everything in our body. So go over the previous sections in this course if you want more details about this. Okay, symptom 4 is hair thinning, or losing your hair, or just having thin hair in general. This goes for both men and women. This is very often a lack of protein and or nutrients. So a mix of those, and that is because our hair is basically made of protein. It's made primarily of this thing called keratin, which is a protein, and that means that the more dietary protein we get into our body and that we are able to synthesize into bioavailable protein in our tissue, the more our body will have a chance to actually promote thick and beautiful hair. And this is obviously a beauty thing that has come with us all from the primal days. So the animals or the humans back in the day that had the healthiest, best looking hair were also the best nourished. They were getting plenty of protein and nutrients, and that was reflected by their hair being nice and thick. And that's why we like that today. That's why that's an attractive trait, is because it's basically a sign of nourishment, if you think about it. Basically what you want to do is you want to increase your animal protein. Animal protein, and especially that from muscle meat, is the most bioavailable protein we can get. It contains all the amino acids and peptides that we need for protein synthesis, and it's just the best way to get that, and the best way to have healthier and better looking hair is to get protein from sources like ground beef, steak, and make it as high quality as possible, organic, pasture raised, because then it will have more nutrients as well to support your hair growth. You could also include something again like pasture raised eggs or organic eggs. They also have a good amount of animal protein in there that can help support your hair growth and all the other processes that we need protein for. And in terms of nutrients, this also has a lot to say in your overall hair growth. So for that, I highly recommend you study the superfood and supplement section, because there we talk way in depth on how you can increase your overall nutrient profile in the modern world. That is a very long video. It's a very powerful one that you have access to in this course. So I highly recommend you watch that over and study everything. If you have any hair issues or other issues basically at all, that superfood section can really help you out. So go back to that if you want to. For now, let's move on to another symptom. And this is going to be bad teeth. A lot of people have bad teeth today. It is a modern issue. It is something that a lot of the indigenous people that were studied who were on natural diets didn't have. And there are many different reasons for that. But a primary reason that a lot of people have bad teeth today is because of a microbiome imbalance and or a lack of minerals. So in terms of minerals, your teeth, again, like with the hair, it was made of protein, and that's why we needed protein. Your teeth, they're actually made of minerals. It's 95% minerals. So if you are not getting enough dietary minerals, which a lot of people are not getting today because of several different factors, for example, the soil our food is grown in has way less minerals, and therefore our food also has less minerals, and that in turn means that our bodies has less minerals, and our teeth then will have less minerals. And what sort of happens to our teeth when our body doesn't have adequate amounts of minerals is that it will start to chip away at the teeth and pull minerals from there. Because as I said, our teeth are 95% minerals. So think about this from the body's perspective. We need minerals for some very important bodily activity. It could be your heart, your muscles, or your blood flow needing minerals to function optimally. But there are not coming enough minerals in from our diet. So our body starts thinking, okay, let's take from the teeth because these are 95% minerals. So your body will literally start pulling minerals away from your teeth, and it does this as a survival mechanism, obviously. But if we just increase our dietary mineral intake, then our body doesn't have to tap into the minerals that are present in our teeth. It can keep those looking healthy, filled with minerals. And that's why we just really want to focus on increasing our mineral consumption if we have problems with our teeth, because this can help out greatly. And we're going to look at methods for how you can do that in a bit. I just wanted to quickly address also the other part of this issue, which is a microbiome imbalance. So a lot of people today know about the gut microbiome, but they don't really realize that we also have another very important microbiome in our body, and that's the mouth. Our mouth has something called the mouth microbiome, and it is basically a concentration of a bunch of different bacteria and yeasts that need to be in a proper balance in order for us to have proper dental health and healthy looking vibrant teeth. So if we don't have that, we can't really have nice teeth. We will have overgrowth of certain bacterial strains or certain yeasts, and we will get caries and we will get all these other teeth issues. So that's why it is of major importance if you have teeth issues to fix your mouth microbiome. And let's look at a way you can do that. That is to include more probiotics in your diet. Specifically raw milk kefir is what we talk about a lot in this course, but you could also include other probiotics that work, like real fermented sauerkraut. You could also make things like water kefir. You could make kimchi. You can make other home brewing type of options that can really help improve the overall microbial balance of your mouth. There are other protocols you could use for this. Something called colloidal silver is also something that's known as a natural antimicrobial that can go in and reestablish the balance that your mouth needs to have proper microbial diversity. You can also use coconut oil, is another very powerful antimicrobial that you can do. Sort of coconut oil pulling. A lot of people find that to also help a lot. And again, this is because of the microbial effects it has. It helps reestablish everything in our mouth. So those are other options you could include here to target the oral microbiome. And in terms of increasing minerals, here are what we want to do. Again, we want to increase our muscle meat from things like red meat. And also you could study the superfood section where we talk about liver and all of these other sort of foods that you can include that has a lot of minerals. So that's basically that. The reason that minerals from meat can be better than from plant options is because they are bound to all of the amino acids that we found in meat. And the minerals coming into our body, they need to be bound to amino acids to be properly integrated. So even though if you look on paper and see that, for example, broccoli has a bunch of minerals more than something like meat, you have to also think about the amino acids there and how it interacts with the body. It's more about bioavailability, and that's why meat often is able to bring more minerals into your body than those in plants, for example. Another food that has a lot of minerals, which is a plant food, is chocolate. Chocolate is very mineral dense, Actually, generally, the darker the food is, the higher its mineral concentration. So dark chocolate, the darker you get it, the more minerals will be in there. So that's another food you could include. Then you can also include some supplements to increase your overall mineral intake. That would be things like shilajit or fulvic minerals. Those are by far the best mineral options we could get if we want to go the supplement route. Just make sure you get proper quality versions of these, because 90% of the fulvic minerals and shilajit supplements out there today are money grab products that contain heavy metals and contaminants and don't actually work. So I have 2 specific ones here that I recommend. These are the ones I've been using for the past 4 years. I know they work because they have lab testing to confirm they are bioavailable. They have lab testing to confirm they're free of contaminants. And they're basically just the best ones I've found out there. And they have the most transparency, and I trust the people that make them. So that's why I recommend these. I'll have the links for everything down below if you want to use those. If you want to go out and find your own options, just make sure that it has proper testing to confirm it's not filled with all of these terrible things that we find in these types of supplements today. And another thing I wanted to mention with your teeth that can just be a huge game changer is something called mastic gum. Mastic gum, you may have heard about it. It's become a bit trendy. It basically comes from this tree that only grows on a specific island called Chios in Greece. And it is a very highly antimicrobial thing that you can use in your mouth. So you can basically take these mastic gums and you can chew on them, and they kind of turn into a gum-like consistency. And the more you chew on that, the more you will be filling your mouth and oral microbiome with the right balance of microbes and yeasts. So this is something that I've used before over longer periods, and my teeth always look way better when I use this stuff. So you can try that out as well if you want to. Okay, let's go to symptom number 6. This is vision problems. So vision problems are, again, often a nutrient issues. A lot of people don't realize this. And I'm not saying you can cure severe vision problems by just eating the right nutrients, because for a lot of people, it's also issues that have been manifested from their childhood. Being on a poor childhood diet, for example, not getting the right nutrients, will mean that their eyes and brain haven't developed certain mechanisms that are needed, and then they might need glasses or support. But still, even with these people, they could still benefit in their vision from just incorporating more of the good foods that I'm about to show you. Because the thing with vision problems is that it is very often manifested or exacerbated by a lack of vitamin A. And that is because you have something in your eye called the retina. This is the biggest part of your eye. And the retina needs certain compounds to grow and function optimally. Specifically, it needs something called retinol. And retinol is basically vitamin A. It is the bioavailable form of vitamin A, and it goes by the name of retinol. And that's why if you increase your vitamin A consumption from real foods, you can actually have a significant impact on your overall vision and your eye health in general. And this is not just something I'm making up. A lot of people have done this throughout history. Actually, there are a bunch of studies proving how ancient Egyptians and Babylonians and other ancient cultures would use things like liver oil, which has a lot of vitamin A, in order to help people who couldn't see anything in the dark, for example, who had night blindness. They would use liver and liver oil, which are very concentrated in vitamin A and retinol. They would use that on those people, and they would be able to see much better at nighttime. And I've had experiences with this myself. When I started getting into eating liver and getting more retinol in my diet, I definitely felt I had better vision and whatnot. So this really works. And also something that you have to think about when you think about eye health is that your eyes are basically just a part of your brain that has sort of been pushed out through the skull. And it is heavily connected to your brain, especially the back part here. So in order to increase your eye health, it can also be very beneficial to focus on brain and cognition supporting nutrients. And these are primarily the fat-soluble vitamins. Again, vitamin A is one of those. Could also be vitamin K, vitamin D, vitamin E, and so on. These can also greatly help your issues when it comes to vision. So what to do, as I just said, eat liver. It has insane amounts of vitamin A. It's basically the highest food we can possibly get. And I talked more about how you should eat liver and how you should get the most nutrients out of it in the superfood and supplement section. So take a look at that one. And as I just said, increase your fat-soluble vitamins A, D, K, and E. And you'll be doing a bunch of good for your vision problems. And you'll basically be putting yourself in the best possible position to heal whatever problems you have with your eyes, or even if you don't have any problems, you're just going to be optimizing your vision and brain health as much as possible. So this really goes for anyone. Okay, then we have symptom number 7. This is brain fog, another very popular issue in the modern world, something that a lot of people have, something that I've found a lot of people don't even realize they have until it is gone. I've worked with a lot of people who've told me, Jonas, I didn't even know we were supposed to feel like this, when I've helped them over time, because they basically weren't noticing the brain fog and the poor cognition they were having before they sort of transformed their health with all of the different things we talk about in here. So it's something that I very highly recommend everyone take seriously this, because it's something that whether or not you're dealing with it or think you're dealing with it, it's something that can definitely be impacting you a lot. So if you're someone who's really struggling from brain fog and want to get rid of it, here is the major culprit of why you are experiencing this brain fog. And this is toxins and environment. Toxins accumulate heavily in the brain tissue, and especially heavy metals. Heavy metals are found everywhere today. We find more and more of them all the time, especially in major cities where there are a lot of cars and pollution in general. You'll be breathing in large amounts of heavy metals daily, and this will impact your cognition a lot and give you a lot of brain fog. The other side of this coin is bad air quality. So if you're sitting inside all day, or you're in a poorly ventilated room, or just inside a lot in general, you will be in a very unnatural condition where you will have less oxygen delivery to your brain, and that bad air quality will manifest as both a decrease in energy, but especially also as brain fog. Also, the air quality within many homes and offices and wherever else we are inside nowadays is contaminated with many different toxins. This could be mycotoxins and mold toxins. It could be other fragrances and perfumes of other people coming into our environment and system. So basically there is one single thing that we need to do if we want to decrease our brain fog and feel much better in general, and that is to detox. We need to do a proper detox so we can finally dump and remove all of the toxins that accumulate in our brain, especially the heavy metals that impact us so much. Because what kind of happens when our brain accumulates these toxins and the heavy metals is that it very often just creates like a biofilm around it to encase it and keep it there. And unless we actually perform some kind of detox to help it out, it will basically never get rid of it. Our body does have natural detoxification processes that it performs every single day without you doing anything. But because of the sheer amount of toxins and all of the other toxic burdens we are exposed to today, our body doesn't really have a chance to detox as much. Also, we don't have enough nutrition, and we don't have the right lifestyle and everything for our body to completely detox everything. So 98% of the things that come into our body don't really come out effectively. And that's why we need a proper detox if we want to feel much better. This is just such an important aspect of modern health. We need to actually use principles that help push these toxins out of our body actively. We can't just sit around and think that our body has the chance to remove all of these chemical soups that are coming into our body today. It's not going to happen. You have to perform some proper detox routines if you want to get the most out of your health, if you want to have the highest possible energy, brain power, and so on. So in terms of doing a proper detox, this is obviously a big part of this program. So I want you to go to the detox section of the Health Masterclass. In here we have the full detox protocol that I recommend. It's actually very easy to do, but there are all of these different principles that I need you to follow. So I won't go in depth with that in this specific video, because we go way in depth and detail with that in the detox section of the Health Masterclass. So take a look at that. Go to that section if you want to learn more about detoxing and how I structure a proper detox protocol. So that's basically the 7 symptoms that I wanted to touch on today. We could go over so many other symptoms. Obviously, there are all these different issues people are having today, and many of them have these specific root causes that we can heavily target with different protocols and principles, as you've seen here. So if you have any symptoms that you are struggling with or that you want to learn more about, it could be skin issues, it could be brain issues, it could be muscle issues, it could be whatever. There's a wide array of issues that we're facing today, as I said. So just come to the group calls into the community, and you can ask me and the other people in their questions, and we can talk about this. So stay healthy, everyone. This was it for this video. You can move on to the other videos in this Health Masterclass, and yeah, stay healthy, everyone, and see you in the next one.